Welcome to another episode of the Kranekel. It is Brother Ingram. I am here with the owner of Blind 7 Photography, Abe. How are you doing today, man?
Doing all right.
This is a really fun episode. I'm really happy and honored to be here. I want to thank you right off the rip for letting us come film today.
No, not a problem.
Let's get into it. Let's tell us a little bit about Blind 7.
Well, let's see. Blind 7 started 15 years ago. I've been the owner-operator ever since. Had everything from assistants to employees. We specialize in, dark commercial work. Everything from models to, we've shot weddings, we've shot pretty much anything you can imagine except pinup. That would seem to be the only thing we never really got into. But things are changing soon, so we'll get into that later.
Okay. Can we get to, we were talking about this before off camera, can we get into the history of the name? Because it seems like even with that little chuckle, I'm extremely curious about this.
All right, well, there's two versions of the name. I used to, back in, 15 years ago now, I was called Oracle Photography, and I shot for a little while. It was probably maybe 6 to 8 months, and I got one of my pictures published on an online forum at the time, and believe me, it was a terrible photo, but at the time it was good for what I had. And a company wrote an email to me and said, you need to change your name. We're a Japanese warehouse, and our internal photography company is called Oracle. That's copyrighted. It's internationally copyrighted. I didn't really know that there wasn't such a thing. So I completely broke down. I was like, I need to find a way to name my business. So I filled a 5-star notebook with name ideas, everything I could think of. And I had, thought of, I do enjoy numbers. So, and 7's always been kind of a lucky number. So I was going to go with that, just call it 7. And then after a very long and very arduous process of me complaining about it for 3 or 4 months, the ex at the time screamed, why don't you just call it Blind 7? And it's stuck. The other story of the name is the story that I gave it after the fact, because, well, that's kind of a really janky way to name your business, right? So I've always been a fan of psychology, and I did remember that the reason why number 7 has stuck with me so much is I read a psychology book in high school that said that there's 7 core emotions. So I went back and I dug through old paperwork and stuff, and I found the book, and I found a section of it that's just, I can't remember right off what the theory is called, but it's that every single human being on the planet has 7 core emotions. And I like Blind 7's work to hit on all of them. So, and I'd much rather you go into them blindly so they're more impactful.
Okay.
So that's the PC version, and then the real life version.
Okay. So when it comes to the photography and stuff, you were talking about video, because I know you do videos.
Yeah, we do everything.
Did it start out just photography and you got into videos, or?
So it's kind of a long story, but for the most, to shorten it up, when I first started photography, I macro flowers. I wanted to create 9-inch nails covers. That was my intro into it, and I started when I was 15 shooting graveyards and things like that, with little disposable cameras that a bus driver gave me. And I love the art form, but I never really thought that I was any good at it. And then I moved from, the macro work into some just played up landscape nature stuff. And that's where my heart has always been. I love the nature stuff and macro work especially. It was about 15 years ago. I had a girl come up to me and say, "Oh, I really like your photos. I'll pay you a couple bucks to shoot me." And, well, her name's Dornita. Well, she might see this. She's still friends with me on Facebook to this day. But she paid me a couple bucks to shoot some portraits of her in my living room with a rig that my dad made me out of household light bulbs and 2x4s to just try and do it. I thought I was going to fail miserably, and some of the photos aren't actually that bad, even to my standard today. But I got into that, and then I swore I would never do video because it was just too much to learn, and I just didn't want. photography I was gonna only be a photographer because I was tired of seeing all the people online that I do everything. And then about 6 years ago, I got asked to direct a music video because of my photography. They liked my vision. So I directed a few, and then after a few of music videos, I decided that after seeing the process and working with a few different companies, Clockwork, Monoblock, which doesn't exist anymore, and I fell in love with the fact that when I shoot a photo, I see it in motion anyways. One random fly in the house. Well, I see it in motion to begin with, so why not do it in video? So I started to learn the video process, and I've actually only been shooting video for about 2 years now, where I could say that I do video. And now it seems to be what I do more than anything. Like I say, it went from nothing to about 2% of the business to now it's about 50%. So.
Okay. I do this with everybody I talk to. I always ask if you have advice. We've done this with a few different episodes. As you saw in the last video that we did with the photographer. Hi, Marlon. Do you agree with his way of saying that it's just easier to kind of get into it, to do it and learn as you go, like to go the apprentice route, just get your camera, take it apart, get to do it, and have that passion, versus trying to go to school for it?
To me, I would, as somebody who's a business owner now, when somebody comes to apply to be an apprentice or wants a job with the company, I would hire somebody who has passion and little bit of knowledge over somebody who's got a doctorate in photography from some fancy school. And the reason being isn't because they're who's better than the other. It's because the person who spent all that money and went to college is trained a certain way, they don't adapt. And this business is all about adaptation. On a daily basis, I wake up and have no clue what's going to be thrown at me. It could be, oh, you got to be up at sunrise tomorrow morning. It's midnight, and I've got 5 hours to make sure all my gear is ready to roll, be in the car on the way to the sunrise shoot. And then middle of the afternoon, I could be in a swanky hotel, or I could be figuring out where my next meal comes from, because it's feast or famine, it's all over the place, there's no rhyme or reason to it. You know, when they say that a photographer, you know, somebody who works at it full time, not if you just do photography on the side as, you know, just for fun, you don't have as much skin in the game. But when you're running an actual company, there's no off time. I mean, you're sitting in my office in my home. I'm here. If I'm not out doing a shoot or grocery shopping, I'm here. I'm working. And then when I get off at the end of, 7, 8 o'clock at night, I decide I want to go play some video games with the wife, I'm still working. I'm still contemplating my next move. I never have a chance to turn off. And somebody who went to college and learns the 9 to 5 aspect of it, they don't adapt as well to the fact that I might be like, okay, tomorrow shoots from 7 p.m. to 2 in the morning. They're going to go, well, that's after business hours. Well, no, it's not. My business hours on Google are 10 to 6 p.m. I don't even wake up half the time till 10 a.m. or 11 a.m. because I'm awake at 7 o'clock in the morning, 6 o'clock in the morning, because I'm just getting home from a shoot at 5 a.m., 4 a.m. I need somebody who has the passion to be able to change on a dime. And that's something that I feel that, besides the fact that I personally feel college is a waste of money, but that's our education system problem, not particularly pertaining to photographers. That's all across the board. But I would rather, my advice would be, if you want to become a photographer, do it. Do it with every ounce of your being, and don't let anybody else tell you no.
Okay. I'm going to backtrack a little bit here. You were saying that the business is evolving.
Yeah.
Can we get into that a little bit?
Yeah. For the last 2 years, I've been working on a business model that it wasn't meant for long term, and it was, I was obviously I've still had my commercial gigs in between, but for the most part, a lot of the artwork that I was putting out was co-funded between myself and, like, I'd do a commercial gig and I would take a portion of that and put it towards my next personal project. And then I would, I get hit up by models and by people who want to be models all the time, wanting to work with, the company, wanting to get shots like, our Anubis shoot we just did and some things like that, the more theatrical end of it. But those cost money, and those cost me money. And I'm not talking $50 shoots. These are shoots that have upwards of $1,000 plus budgets. And that is no profit. That is strictly props and, makeup and locations and things like that. Me turning around and charging somebody for a shoot $1,000 while they're just covering everything makes no sense to me. So there was no money in it for me. There's no longevity for my company. So I've taken the last year, and I'd say in about October of last year, I had to sit down with my wife, who's pretty much my bouncing board for my company, and I told her that I was unhappy and that I wanted to change some things. And over the next 6 to 8 months, I started working towards making a decision that's probably going to piss a lot of people off. But I'm not shooting models anymore. I'm not shooting I'll still shoot my ideas, but the structure will be a little different, because the way I've been doing it for 2 years, for me to not ramble on and backtrack, was basically I would come up with an idea, I would put money into the cost, and then I would take a bunch of people who volunteered or wanted to be part of a project but couldn't afford a bigger shoot. I would offer 5 of them a discounted rate to be part of that idea and be part of that project, but I was still putting money in it myself, so I'm not making anything on it. I'm not able to pay my gas, electric, internet, all that stuff, because I'm just doing personal projects. And while I love them, and they're some of my favorite things I've ever created, they're not sustainable as a business. So probably by the end of the year, there'll be no more of those projects. Definitely not in the frequency that they came out in the last 2 years. We're no longer going to take on weddings. We're no longer going to take on things that don't make sense as a company. I had to stop looking at, oh, well, I got to help them. I have to do this for dirt cheap because I believe in them. And I'm not going to say that that's not going to still happen, but things have got to tighten up a little bit. And that's decisions as I'm almost 40 years old. I got to think of my future. And it might make a lot of people angry, it might not, but I would much rather be happy and have my company thrive than stress myself out 7 days a week for pennies.
Definitely with the changing climate, with the way everything hit, because we were supposed to meet back in what was that, March or February?
Right. And this year just threw everything off the wall.
Oh yeah, we got shut down, and then we finally got the chance to come film the episode, because there's.
Well, I fit you in, I leave in 7 days or something. Yeah, 7 days. I leave for Georgia for a trip that I was planned on back in March. Or we were supposed to leave like the beginning of May. And because COVID shut it down, we had to move the whole thing. I mean, that's 15 people going to Georgia. And we had to figure out ways to split groups and change reservations and travel and everything else for it. And obviously we're going to take protocols, and everybody will be masked up as much as possible, and try to keep things as separate as possible. You got 15 people in an Airbnb. People are going to be around each other, but at least the group that's going are around each other a lot now anyways. So it's not like we're just taking some random person from another state and throwing them into our group. So everybody that is in this shoot, I've been around at least twice in the last month, so should be fine.
With everything we were talking about with the changing climate, how was that when you first got back to shooting with the new protocols? How weird was that?
I mean, I'm not gonna lie, it's kind of a pain in the ass. I'd rather. I'm a face-to-face person. I always have been. I don't like to do my meetings via phone calls. I don't want to answer your email to tell you how much a shoot's going to cost. I want to sit down via a Zoom meeting or sit down with you in a coffee shop. I want to be able to relate to you and read your body language while I'm trying to sell you something. And I don't like the fact that now I'm dealing with a client and I have to wear a mask and they're wearing a mask and all I'm doing is reading eyes, and those can be so easily misread. And I've seen it a couple of times where you're talking to somebody and they are going on and on and on about how they're loving things, and all you're reading on their eyes is how they just decide to hate you. They hate you in every word that's coming out of your mouth. You're completely wrong, but that's what their eyes are saying because, well, you're literally missing half the facial expressions. So it's finding companies that can afford work right now. And that's one of the biggest things. We ran a sale from June through July. Actually, we extended it into August, where we basically half-offed our general rate for a mini commercial or like YouTube. We mainly make assets for YouTube, for Instagram, Facebook, and stuff for advertising. And those little 30-second clips, those cost money, obviously, but if a restaurant wants one, we charged one thing. We half-offed it for almost 3 months just to try and help out the local community, to say, like, look, we realize we got to make money, you got to make money. The whole reason you're running on half staff, so why don't we'll half charge you for right now? And it basically halving our price meant I make no money, meaning the staff gets paid, the bills get paid, but me personally, I don't get to worry about my food. But I felt that it was the only way that I'm not a rich man. I couldn't just donate to things. The wife did. She did great with it. But the working in this climate has become, besides the pain in the ass that it's a mask you got to wear all the time, and wash your hands 20 times. You should be doing that anyways. Oh yeah.
Nasty ass people. It is showing the lack of common sense and basic hygiene anymore. I thought we were talking. I went through the same thing with the Comic Cons. The comic book and stuff. Like, oh yeah, we had all plans to travel, and then everything's been shut down.
Well, I shot cons too. Actually, Marlon went with me to Jekyll, where I'm going in a couple days. Marlon was there with me the first or second year I went. It was me, Marlon, and Tabitha. We went down. He had a blast. Marlon likes that hot weather, man. I can't do that. We went in December and it was like 85 degrees. Oh, cannot do that.
We're gonna have stop a little bit of a commercial for you right now. We will have links to Instagram. We're gonna post. I will have a couple links to a couple of the commercials you did. Because you did say you are till the end of the year taking models.
I mean, here and there. I mean, and here's the thing. Like, don't ever hesitate to contact me because I'm an artist. My mind changes on a whim. The art side of me is you have to be shooting and creating 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. My problem, I guess, for the last 15 years is that's been my drive, not my company. And I want my company to take the forefront starting in January. I've already started to whittle it down. But as far as like future stuff goes, don't ever hesitate to hit me up though, because shit, I could change my mind tomorrow. It's artist prerogative. Right. But yeah, so, and it's blind the number 7 photography everywhere. Instagram, YouTube, Facebook.com.
And we'll have all these linked at the bottom of the video. I want to wrap it up here. Mm-hmm. I do want to say thank you again for the video. And to everyone, remember, stay safe, wash your damn hands, and have fun.